Welcome to This Week in Morgan County. I'm your host, Russell Mokhiber. Our guest this week is Marjorie Hudson. Marjorie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're up over the river in Fulton County, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Were you born and raised there?
No, I was born and raised in Franklin County, just over the ridge, but my entire family's from Fulton County.
Have you been in the area your whole life?
Yes, I have been.
And what's your work? What do you do?
I do research for my husband. He's a CPA MBA.
Okay.
I'm the back room person.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And if people drive up through 522 in Pennsylvania, they come across these big signs that you made.
Handmade, hand-lettered.
How big are they?
Some are 4x8 sheets of plywood.
How many are there?
6 or 8, just in the general area of Ravensburg Road.
And is that
south of McConnellsburg?
Okay. And what do they say?
They say things like save Big Cove Creek, protect our water, don't pollute the environment and corporate swine. And
they're directed at what? Why are the signs up?
The signs are up because we're challenging the permitting of an 8,700 head hog CAFO that's going to be built.
Wait, what? This is a factory farm?
It's a factory farm. 8,700 hogs under less than 5 acres of roof.
And where is it? Where is it proposed to be?
They propose to put it in a mountain meadow that drains into 2 tributaries of Big Cove Creek.
And Cove Creek is a local water?
Big Cove Creek goes to Licking Creek, which comes into the Potomac just south of Hancock.
What's the name of the company that's doing this?
Hatfield is the parent company, Clemens is the holding company, but the actual name on the permit is Country View Family Farms.
And why did they choose your neighborhood?
I do not know why they chose my neighborhood.
But why did they choose this area of Pennsylvania?
Probably because of too many farms closer to the shore. They're moving inward in Pennsylvania.
There's activism to protect the Chesapeake Bay.
Yes.
And some people theorize that, you pointed this out to me the other day, that some people are theorizing that because of the activism to protect the Chesapeake Bay, the companies have decided to move to poorer, more rural areas.
There's a lot of that going on. Our area, though, is still in the Potomac River Basin.
How close to your property is this proposed?
I share a common boundary.
And when did you first hear about it?
About February 2014, we read in the paper that they were applying for a permit for a nutrient management plan through the local conservation office.
And what year was that?
2014.
2014. When did you put the signs up in opposition?
Probably summer of 2014. We tried to protest that nutrient management plan that didn't manage any nutrients, but we were told that if the application was administratively correct, it would be approved, and it was on March 13th.
March 13th of
2014.
And how are you challenging that decision?
Well, we had 30 days to comment or appeal, and so we did on April 11, 2014. That was the first of the permits that we appealed.
And what happened?
We're still in the court.
You're paying lawyers' fees?
Yes.
How much have you spent so far?
A lot of money, and I would prefer not to say.
Now, you're a conservative Republican.
Yes.
And most conservative Republicans believe that the market should handle these things. But you're actually looking to law and regulation to handle it. Do you feel conflicted at all?
No, because the regulations that should handle it are being bent to the will of the companies.
This has historically been a farm area for 200 years, 250
yes.
years. Isn't this a farm?
This is a mountain farm. There were 2 doctors that had this property years ago, and they used it as a vacation area. They built a little cabin on the hill, and they rented out the rest of the land to a local farmer who still is renting the property from the present owners. But they have some crop fields for row crops and hay. They also have a few young cattle pastured on the property, but it was never an intensive farming operation on this property.
You know, a lot of people come out from the city to this area and they take offense at farmers. They don't like, you know, they don't like riding behind hay trucks. Mm-hmm. They don't like the smell of cattle. But your opposition isn't about that. You actually like farmers.
I like farmers. I have farmers in my family. I have timber cutters in my family. But we've always, in fact, my family home, there's a spring in the mountain that served all the properties, all the family, including a 200-head dairy herd. We had a good spring, and we took very good care of it.
So then what's your problem with this proposal?
My problem with this proposal is that this particular project is not appropriate for the site they've chosen. It's ecologically sensitive.
And do you consider it a farm, what they're proposing?
No, I consider that to be a factory.
And tell us something about it. What are they going to do there, and what are the impacts going to be?
They want to put 8,700 hogs under 5 acres of buildings on the mountain meadow, and they're going to have those buildings over pits, manure pits, so that they'll be contained and then hauled out. And those pits are going to hold 11.4 million gallons of manure and waste annually that will be land applied locally within a 4-mile radius of the property.
And what does that mean? Well, first of all, what does that mean in terms of water and air pollution?
Well, in terms of air pollution, it is pretty bad, even though they had an odor management plan, which I don't understand what that means at all. But as far as the water, they're going to be taking a lot of water out of the water table just for those hogs alone. And if you have 11 million gallons in the pit, you're going to be using more than that every year.
Fulton County is a pretty conservative area.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jim Carville, the Democratic pollster, said Pennsylvania, you have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and it's Alabama in between. And it's pretty conservative, and you're conservative. What's the sense of the community about this facility?
Well, it's really interesting. There's a lot of old-timers that are completely conservative, and they all have come on board with comments such as, that's the wrong place for that. A lot of us have had access to properties in the area over the years by virtue of being friends with the owners, and we're allowed to go mushroom hunting, and some people hunt deer. And, we've all been over these properties, and there are some places where you can walk in the middle of the summer when you haven't had rain for 45 days, and there will be a spring there in the mountain still flowing. This is one of those places. There's a lot of water on that mountain.
Is there support in the community for it? And if there's support, what's the argument to support it?
I think there's some support for it simply because they are considering it to be a farm, an extension of a farm operation. Even though this place is a breeding facility, they're going to pump out, I'd say, 9,600 piglets every month. And they'll need nursery barns to support them. And a nursery barn will hold 9,600 piglets. And they keep them in the nursery for 2 months. And then when they leave the nursery, they go to 4,800 head finishing barns. So every 2 months, they need to go to a finishing barn. And the finishing barns keep them about 4 months. So exponentially, you're up to about 16 support buildings for this one breeding facility.
When you say a finishing barn, what happens in a finishing barn?
Finishing barn is when they take the piglets from a small weight to their finishing weight when they send them to market. About 250, 265 pounds.
And how would you say the public opinion falls in Fulton County or in the area about this?
Well, we went to the county commissioners early on, and one of the county commissioners said, how are you going to fight big money? Of course, he had I feel there's a conflict of interest in some places.
Did the county commission green light it?
They really didn't have any say in it, they said, but they didn't protest it.
There is a law in Pennsylvania. It's called the Right to Farm Law.
Yes, it is.
And tell us about that law and how it affects this facility.
Well, the Right to Farm Law really ties up local government. Our Air Township wanted to put in an ordinance that would prohibit or at least segregate where you could put a CAFO.
And CAFO stands for what again?
Confined animal feeding operation.
Okay.
Okay, so if they're confined for more than 45 days a year, they come under that heading. Air Township wanted to put that in an ordinance to at least control that. They got a letter from the Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania that said that if you do, we will bring the full force of the state of Pennsylvania against your little township.
Well, it's interesting, the little that I've read about this law. It was passed to protect farmers, regular farmers, from nuisance lawsuits. So for example, like some DC people come to this area and they don't like cattle, and so they file lawsuits saying you're messing up our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And these farmers have been here for generations. And the idea was to protect them, but now it's being used to protect these factory farms.
Some of the farmers I've talked to that supported the right to farm said that they were sold a bill of goods. They didn't know how far this was going to go. And they're now coming to my meetings.
How often do you have meetings?
We meet every Tuesday at the library in McConnellsburg.
And what's the nature of the support in the community in opposition to this factory farm?
The opposition doesn't have too much to say because they have the rule of law on their side.
Oh, when you say the opposition, you mean the people supporting the factory farm.
Right.
But what about people opposing it? Have you gotten signatures? Have you done a petition?
We did a petition early on to send into the state with our very first application back in 2014, and our first try was over 500 signatures, and we've added to it since then.
And are those mostly local people?
Mostly local. What's
the population of Fulton County?
I don't know what it is for the county, but it's a little over 2,000 in Air Township.
And how do you spell the name of the town?
A-Y-R.
A-Y-R, okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a national movement against these factory farms. Are you hooking up with them, and are they helping at all?
Yeah, we have some contacts that we're working with now. It takes a long time to get noticed, and fortunately we've been able to keep the permitting at bay. We did get a supersedis, which stayed a permit that they got that said that they could actually start construction. Apparently that's almost unheard of to get a supersedis, so we were very pleased.
What does that word mean?
That's a stay.
A stay? Okay.
A stay of a permit.
When did you get that?
We got that last August.
And now they're prohibited from building?
They can't build until our underlying lawsuit is heard and determined.
When and where will it be heard?
Well, we don't know yet. They keep pushing off when they want to bring their information into the court. This week we've just gotten word that it's been postponed now till October, which means we won't have completed discovery till January 2017.
Now, some might say, some in the corporate world accuse people like yourself of being NIMBYs.
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard. Mm-hmm. And this is your backyard.
It is
You're
my
right
backyard.
Next door. So why aren't you a NIMBY?
I don't know. You could call me that, but I did walk down to the creek, and I can see that the shale is in layers that are vertical instead of horizontal, and I know where they're going to put the pits, and they do eventually leak, and it will be in the Big Cove Creek.
And it will be in the water table.
It'll be in the water table, it'll be in the ground, it'll be in the creek. You can't have that many animals in a facility and not have some sort of problems with them, disease. And there's a big problem with overuse of antibiotics in confined animals. And that affects everybody in the community too, because we're seeing more and more outbreaks of MRSA.
Have you had any conversations with representatives of the company?
I'm prohibited at this point.
You're not allowed to speak with them?
No.
Did you speak with them before the lawsuit?
We did.
And what was the nature of the conversation?
Well, it was with everybody's attorneys, so I really can't talk about that.
Okay. Are you opposed to factory farms, or are you saying that this is just the wrong place?
This one, I have to pick my battles, so I have chosen to pick this one as a representative of, and it will end up being other things. Education of the community is really important. The Chesapeake Bay issues that Pennsylvania has, not meeting their guidelines, and then the state of Pennsylvania permitting all these new CAFOs without regard for cumulative effect on the community and on the ground, and what will that do to the water. So if you're trying to improve the water with the properties that are contributing to pollution already, and then you add more properties on that will contribute additional pollution, it's like salting your soup again and again and again. You'll never get it right.
Is your area an area where there are a lot of factory farms?
There are more factory farms in Fulton County than I would care to know about, and there have been 3 recently permitted that I'm sure are offshoots of this.
But of the factory farms that are up and running, what are they? Are they pigs, or are they chickens, or what?
They're mostly pigs.
And how long have they been there?
Some of them have been there a good while, and some of them have added on. There are some places that are well run, and some places that try to use state-of-the-art farming practices. There are some that just shouldn't be where they want to put them, and that's what this one is. The field is just laden with water.
But on the broader issue of farm versus factory, we shouldn't be raising animals this way, should we?
Well, we probably shouldn't. I do not understand how you can grow your feed in the Midwest and ship it in here, feed it to the animals who create the waste that they say then you use as a nutrient, as a fertilizer to put on your farms. It's not like we're shipping it back out to them where the nutrients came from to feed the animals. We're overloading our properties.
What is the company's, what is their tactic? How are they positioning themselves in
They're applying for permits.
But are they countering your activism in any way that you know of?
They don't have to.
Because what?
Because they have the permitting of the state of Pennsylvania on their side.
And your only hope now is public sentiment and the courts?
And the court. Mm-hmm.
What is the status of the court case? Where does it go? What's the timeline?
Well, the timeline is now October, and then January will be when we start finishing our discovery, January 2017. So the biggest part of this problem is started with the nutrient management plan. I thought that permits would be something that would protect the public, follow the rules, and be protected. But when I read the nutrient management plan, it didn't manage any nutrients. And then when I read the...
No, let me stop you there. When you say it didn't manage any nutrients, what do you mean?
11.4 million gallons of waste that they said was going to be shipped to a manure broker. But now, after that, we don't know where it goes. There's no way for the public to determine whether this stuff is properly applied, where it's applied, the rate of application.
So the trucks come in and ship it out?
Yep.
So you have trucks coming in and taking the waste,
yes,
and shipping it out. And what you're saying is we don't know where it's going.
We don't know where it's going. We don't know where it's land applied. We don't know if it's being properly applied. See, if there are no reports required by the state to be filed, then the public has no access through right to know.
All right, and a decision will be made on this by the courts by
sometime after January 2017, unless they get another extension.
And then there are appeals.
Yes, there will be appeals.
Okay. How long are you in this for? I mean, you've spent an extraordinary amount of money, and what about resources? How are you?
Well, we're in it for the long haul, and this is a real grassroots effort. I mean, my neighbors that hold yard sales, bake sales, send what you can type thing, because we're all in this together. We can't believe this is happening in an area where we all get along with the farmers. I've lived next to those fields for years, and well, when they're spraying, I close my windows. When they're spreading manure, I close my windows. I've never given my neighboring farmers a hard time at all. But this is a lot.
But this is a lot, and you mentioned that there are factory farms already in Fulton County, so why this one?
Why this one? Because it's the wrong place. I mean, there are some places in the county that you probably could put one on and get it permitted without any problem. This one is just not right because of the water and the nature of the soils.
What are your chances in the court case? Do you have any sense?
I don't have any sense of that. That's always 50-50.
I see where you're having a concert.
Yes.
It's Protect Big Cove Creek.
Right.
And you're having a group called Magpie coming in.
Yes.
And it's going to be in Hancock, August 21 at the Hancock Town Hall. Well, tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, that came about because of Mike and Carolyn Kligerman at the Arts Council in Hancock. They're friends with Mike Tabor, who has Licking Creek Bend Farm. And Big Cove Creek flows into Licking Creek, and Licking Creek comes down to the Potomac just below Hancock. And so we're really all in this together. So. And
this is a concert where you have this, it's apparently a well-known folk band, Magpie.
Yes, yes.
People around Berkeley Springs will know it.
People all over will know it.
And you're asking people to come, and this is music, but to raise awareness.
To raise awareness, we're going to have a few speakers, but they'll only have 2 or 3 minutes to make a statement or two. We'll have information there if anyone wants it, and anyone that wants to contact me for specific information can write to me at bigcovecreek@aol.com.
And that's your contact information if they want more information. A couple final things, because we only have a couple minutes left. There are big public interest groups and environmental groups who are very concerned about this, Food and Water and Environmental Defense Fund and so forth. Have you sought their help in terms of litigation strategies or support, that kind of thing?
Well, we've recently been contacted by the Riverkeeper Network that's in a part of the Waterkeeper Network. So we're happy with that, and I have some people in the Chesapeake Bay group that are interested in discussing this further. I don't know how far that'll go. And it's interesting to note that Trout Unlimited was one of the very first people to help me with this. They did put one of their engineers in on the job, and he determined that the unnamed tributaries were actually unrepresented on the original application, and that actually had them change their first site plan, which I want to thank them for helping me with that.
So as not to adversely affect a certain part of the water or something?
Right.
Okay. Well, one last thing. If the waste goes into the water, is that Chesapeake Bay or is that the Ohio River Basin?
This is the Chesapeake. We're in the Potomac River Basin, so it goes to the Chesapeake. Now, if you go north of us into some of the other counties in Pennsylvania, it goes to the Ohio. But Fulton County actually breaks in the middle. Half of, the lower half comes to the Potomac through Hancock, and the other half goes to the Chesapeake through the Susquehanna.
Okay. Well, Marjorie Hudson, good luck to you.
Well, thank you.
And
I'm going to need it.
If people want to get in touch with you again, your email?
bigcovecreek@aol.com.
All right. Thank you, Marjorie Hudson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching This Week in Morgan County.